Hello, I'm your host, Grayson Brulte. Welcome to another episode of SAE Tomorrow Today, a show about emerging technology and trends, and we'll build it with leaders and innovators who make it all happen. On today's episode, we're absolutely honored to have Robert Swaim, founder, HowItBroke.com. Today, we'll discuss SAE J3108-1, the first responder safety standard for alternative fuel vehicles. We hope you enjoy this episode. Bob, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
It's great to have you here. I'm really curious, how do things break to start, and why did you name your business How It Broke?
Good question. I spent 32 years at the NTSB. Before that, I was a field service rep looking at how things broke on airplanes all over the world. And so my whole career has been trying to figure out how things broke. I spent 32 years at the NTSB investigating how things broke, primarily in aviation. But I've been working with lithium batteries since the 787 fire in January 2013, and then I started working with cars early in 2017. So I've been figuring out how things broke for my whole career.
Do you see any overlap from planes to cars in your work? Any common patterns?
Absolutely. In both aviation and cars, the pilot or the driver is the most common cause of the accident. In aviation, we know it's 92%. And while I don't have a handy number for cars, my experience has typically been that excess speed and loss of control are usually involved.
If you look at things that can get out of control, EVs can get out of control because they go really fast. And some individuals aren't prepared for that propulsion. But what we do know is that the EV market is growing. And there's concerns, videos of first responders don't necessarily know how to interact with the vehicles. Some vehicles look the same and it might have a gas engine, might have an electric propulsion. How are first responders trained to respond to an incident that involves a lithium-ion battery fire?
Unfortunately, the vast majority of the nation's 1.2 million responders, that's the most recent estimate I've seen, is that about a quarter to a third have some type of training. That's all. Most are not yet trained. When we hear about stories of using 20,000 or 30,000 gallons of water, it's a clue that that department has not yet gotten training. Those that have become more tactical in knowing how and where to use the resources. For example, pouring water on top of a vehicle like a gasoline car just results in the water draining off rather than getting to the source. The source for a EV is going to be under the car, not the engine where you can get to it from the top.
How do dispatcher first responders know if there's a lithium-ion battery on board the vehicle?
About 1 in 7 of all fire responses these days are to vehicle fires, and only the tiniest fraction of those are EVs. In fact, a commonly used statistic is that there are about 60 gasoline fires or ICE fires per EV. Firefighters are so used to fighting gasoline fires that it's a real shift mentally to realize they are dealing with something different. And a related problem, and especially in the plug-in hybrids, is that the manufacturers are making it virtually impossible to tell which cars have a lithium battery. Like the Hyundai Kona, you can have a gasoline car, an electric car, or a hybrid. Now, if trained, they can make a mental jump from put the wet stuff on the red stuff, like in an ICE fire. But they have to become tactical in the EV fire and recognize what the source of heat is and where it's coming from. And in an EV, it might be from the bottom of the car.
How do they recognize that? What do they do today?
In a typical ICE car fire, you have two potential sources of fuel. You have gasoline and you have the plastic components in the interior. And if you raise the hood, you can get to the gasoline fire fairly easily. Our typical problem is a fuel line breaking there at the engine. If it is spread to the passenger compartment, they know that you break a window, you can put water into the interior and put out the plastics fire. With an electric car, now you don't have that engine under the hood. You don't have the source of gasoline unless it's a hybrid like a Prius. Okay? Now your source of heat, the fire basically, can be the battery that is mounted to the bottom surface of the vehicle. So if a firefighter is pouring water on top of the vehicle, it totally misses the battery and misses the fire because it just drains off until that fire burns into the interior in the plastic.
When that happens, you have all sorts of issues, but You're on a committee that's developed the J3108-1 recommended practice. Is that to solve this issue of first responder knows what type of vehicle they're coming up to when they're responding to an incident?
That's right. The new J3108 provides a way for firefighters to instantly know if a car has something beyond a good old-fashioned gasoline or diesel engine. As we've gone through this development, we've also had a big dose of reality hit us. The vast majority of calls are to common traffic accidents in which the victims need extrication, but there's no fire. And we found through over the last couple of years that these EVs and hybrids come to rest still in drive, which means they have later moved silently and then injured the responders. The new recommended practice calls for a sticker to be on the windshield near the vehicle identification number, the VIN, making it hard to miss for a responder coming up to the driver's window of a car.
There's a lot of good there. Curiosity, how were these standardized stickers developed? Was there a committee of individuals, or how was it developed?
It was. It's a basic concept that started several years ago. We actually tried to get the manufacturers to put something on their vehicles, and they refused because they're afraid of anything that might make a prospective buyer anxious. So we tried going to the government, and we found that NHTSA would not promote adoption. They left that up to the manufacturers. Since trying to get vehicle markings fell flat, we realized that we had to work with the states. Now, 11 states already have some type of license plate for alternate fuel vehicles, but typically they're very generic, and they say something like electric vehicle. But now, what if you have a hydrogen fuel cell or a combination of fuels like a plug-in hybrid? That electric vehicle nomenclature really doesn't get you too far. As you can see, getting to J3108 as a recommended practice has been an iterative process, going through various ideas for nearly the last 2 years since recognizing that we need to go to the states.
Going to the states is democracy, but how were the codes chosen, the colors chosen, and was there a guide that was developed that first responders naturally understand?
The first to attack this was the International Standards Organization, or ISO, over in Europe. And they began looking at a set of standardized pictographs and letters and colors back in 2012. And that effort led to a diamond-shaped symbol that's used for heavy vehicles, typically over 10,000 pounds or so. Unfortunately, the diamonds are at least 4 inches wide, and it would look pretty ugly to put a sticker that big on the bumper of somebody's personal car and have a contrasting color. For example, nobody wants to have a big, bright green or orange sticker on their yellow or their red car. When we first came up with this idea of J3108, the plan was to put small stickers in the corner of license plates. And that constrained us to a small sticker that's only 7/8 of an inch by 1 5/8 inch, the typical registration sticker size. In the end, we adopted the ISO letters for the fuels, and we used most of their background colors, but we had to drop the pictographs. It just got too complicated.
Could you see this eventually evolving into a national standard, or will it always continue to be different state by state?
We do see this as a recommended practice, not a standard. So it's up to the states on how to use them. Again, we already tried the national approach with NHTSA and the manufacturers, and that didn't pan out. We recommend for one to be on the windshield near the VIN, the vehicle identification number, and a second sticker on the rear license or the corner of the rear glass. States that have a front license plate could put one on the front license plate as well. What we're finding is that states require legislation to alter or change their license plates. It looks like we may be seeing more go for the rear glass than the license plates.
Let's give it a state example here, because if you look at New York State, they adopted the best practice, but they put a key modification there over concerns about the transferability of license plates. Very valid concern there. New York is now requiring stickers on both the windshield and the lower corner of the rear window. Will this best practice be updated based on this public adoption that's being implemented by New York State?
We're really proud to have had the 3108 recommended practice sponsored in both legislative chambers in New York. And that means it has a good chance of becoming law this year. From working with these legislators, the revised recommended practice already incorporates this practice, this idea of using the front window and the back window. But it leaves open to the other states the option of using license plates as well. And by the way, it's too early to say who, but including New York, we're now in discussions with representatives of 3 states.
So you're getting momentum there. Will New York's approach become the de facto best practice once the practice is revised, since it's out there in the wild?
It's now released. The released practice is in the wild. You can get it on the SAE website. And so we give the options to the states, and I'm not going to be surprised to see more and more use the front glass, rear glass approach, but it is an option to be able to use license plates the way Wisconsin has.
How do you envision these stickers getting to consumers or drivers? Will they get them with their annual vehicle registration renewals? They'll get another sticker along with their renewal sticker?
In addition to the state efforts, we're discussing other ways to promote this at various levels, especially locally. For example, we've spoken with a company that makes stickers, and they could supply them to fire departments for fairs and open houses and that kind of thing all the way across the country. Obviously, if you're putting it in the window, it doesn't have that legal requirement that going to a license plate does, and people can do this on their own.
Then there's the issue of consumer adoption, because this increases safety, and they can do it on their own. From a voluntary basis or standpoint, what is the best ways for consumers to adopt the stickers?
Yeah, we are working with a sticker manufacturer. We're in first talks with a sticker manufacturer to provide stickers in case people want to do this on their own, that they would have a source to be able to get these stickers.
So stickers are coming. Let's call this the stickers are the future. Today, the stickers aren't necessarily out there. How does a first responder coming to the site of an incident know what type of propulsion system the vehicle has? As you mentioned, the Kona, they have a lot of very similar designs, different engines. How do they know which one might be electric, one might be hybrid, which might be plug-in hybrid, or which one might be gas? How does a first responder know today?
That is actually, you put your finger on the heart of the problem. They don't. They don't know what they have. If you walk up to a Ford Escape, you can see a gasoline or a hybrid, and there's virtually no badging difference. There is a tiny little, maybe 1.5 inch square tag on the rear lift gate in the bottom right corner. That's it. Beyond that, the hybrid and the gas car intentionally look the same. The problem here is that if the gas car comes to a stop at an accident and it stalls out, it's pretty benign. But if the hybrid car comes to a stop in an accident situation, a responder walks up to it and he's got the door open, he's trying to extricate the driver, and the driver's foot goes down on the gas pedal, that car is going to move, and we've already had responders hurt from that.
We don't want responders hurt because they're putting their lives on the line when they go out there and they do this exceptional work that they do. You had a lot of experience at the NTSB. What role did your experience at NTSB play in the development of this recommended best practice?
I joined the J3108 first responder group back when I was still at the NTSB, and that's where my partner, Tom Barth, and we discussed how to try and get the manufacturers or the government to require markings on alternate fuel vehicles. And boy, we did a lot of discussion. We actually did some discussion with other government agencies and such. And it was rough. It was a tough act to push. So it wasn't until about 2 years ago that we in the J2990 working group, the SAE group, realized that we were getting nowhere. We've been pushing this for several years by that point. And about then is where we started to think about other ways to get some type of markings to alert responders. And it was a bit of a eureka moment where we said, this just is not working, going after the manufacturers and NHTSA, and we have to go after the state governments. And then it became just basically out one door and into another type of approach.
There's a lot of approaches, a lot of change. As I said earlier, today we have hybrid, we have plug-in hybrid, we have electric vehicles, we have internal combustion vehicles, we have diesel vehicles. Would this recommended practice even have come to fruition if we didn't have hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and electric vehicles today?
No, we probably wouldn't need it, because if everything was just gasoline or diesel, firefighters are very good at responding to those fires. They believe the typical extinguishing of a gasoline or diesel car fire is only like 9 minutes. It's very quick once they arrive on scene. But once they have to contend with a battery under the bottom of the car, which might be the source of the fire, now it's a totally different approach. You can't just pour water on top. And no, we probably would not need this if it was just gasoline.
Or hydrogen? Will this best practice also be used for hydrogen vehicles if those do start to come into the mainstream?
Absolutely. Some of the tags, the stickers, have a different set of letters and symbols for the hydrogen cars. For example, a hydrogen car would be a white letter H on a light blue background versus an electric car, which is a white lightning strike on an orange background. So very different look to the sticker, and it's very apparent as the responder is walking up to the car.
It's visible. You can use it's great because the responder can identify, hydrogen car, electric car. It makes it very easy to identify quickly without having to get out a pair of glasses to really look at it. It's very simple. Bob, in your opinion, how do you see this best practice evolving?
Again, we're approaching the states, and we hope to get local and community involvement once we work out how to distribute the stickers. And right now, we're trying to work with legislators and have them promote it within their states. We would expect that most states are probably going to require the stickers at registration renewal, but some, like Wisconsin, may push the stickers out preemptively. They know from the registrations who has what kind of vehicle, and they can push out those stickers on their own.
Well, I want to hope for the best because it's good. It's good for society. It's good for first responders. As we look to wrap up today's insightful conversation, what would you like our listeners to take away with them today?
The first step is awareness about the extent of the problem, especially with respect to injuries happening and hurting responders currently already dealing with the cars that can move silently. And by the way, I say that it's also a problem for owners. Owners are having this silent movement problem, and I don't think that's a new insight.
Get involved. J3108 best practice is good for society. Today is tomorrow. Tomorrow's today. The future is J3108. Bob, thank you so much for coming on SAE Tomorrow Today.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to SAE Tomorrow Today. Be sure to join us next week when we talk about the current state of the aviation fuel market.
SAE International makes no representations as to the accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. The information and opinions are for general information only. SAE International does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast.